Hi everybody, I thought about it a lot, but I finally decided to do a review of the 2009 movie Coraline. You know, that stop motion animation for kids, but oh boy, is it not for kids. I explained to you why it's not for kids. Oh well, of course it is for kids. We know it's one of those shows that you can watch as a kid and find scary, and then you can watch it again as an adult and find really scary because you figure out what it's actually about, and it's even more scary than what you thought as a kid, just like as a kid, Alien scared me to death because my mother told me that would be a snake. And and I was 4 years old, so I thought, oh yeah, all snakes are like that evil alien. But when my mother also sexually abused me at the same age, and I then rewatched Alien and realized that it's actually about rape, well, then I was really scared. So it's kind of the same thing with this movie. If children would understand what this movie is really about, it would really traumatize them. Because it actually has all the ingredients of a good horror movie. What is a good horror movie? A good horror movie is like, all the famous horror movies. Like I said, Alien, or The Exorcist, or Body Snatchers, etc. All those famous horror movies. And they all have something in common. And like I just said, Alien is really about, rape. The Exorcist is also about rape. Body Snatchers is actually, that came out during the Cold War, more or less. And it was about the fear that people had at that time. Basically the fear they had of communist spies. Not knowing if, the neighbor or whoever, a person who seems ordinary might actually be a spy and might be spying on them, and and then maybe they get abducted or something. So while on the surface it was about an alien invasion and being abducted by aliens, and aliens being able to take the form of humans, it was really about spies, and that was a very tangible fear at that time because it was during the Cold War. So every good horror movie takes something real in your life, something that you are already afraid of, and mixes it into the horror movie. So it becomes all the more frightening. And Coraline does that too. Now, as I said, Coraline is a movie for children, and it really is a movie for children, but it's a freaking scary horror movie for children. So what are children afraid of? Children, of course, are afraid of being abducted. At least that's what I was, afraid of as a child, because, my mother told me never to talk to strangers and never tell any stranger that she's beating me and what she's doing with me at night, Of course she didn't want me to talk to strangers, and that actually addresses the other part, and that is the abuse. Now, the abuse doesn't have to come from strangers, and that's maybe not what the children are necessarily afraid of, but that is what they should be afraid of, is domestic abuse. So they're afraid of strangers, but they should be afraid of domestic abuse. So this is where the movie works on two layers. On the surface, the way parents and children will perceive it is, oh yeah, well, it's this cautionary tale for children, that warns them of the dangers of strangers and, teaches them to be content with what they have with their parents and in their home, teaches them to be content with their parents, even though they might not be the best parents. But, you know, it's still better than, you know, wandering off and going into Wonderland and seeing the Wicked Witch and having the Wicked Witch as the mother. You know, so on the surface, it's like this cautionary tale, perfect for children, perfect for parents, you know, just what they expect, you know, like this little morality lesson for children, you know, like, I don't know, Pinocchio or Alice in Wonderland, you know, those kinds of stories. On the surface, it's like that. And this is why it's regarded as a children's movie, or can be regarded as a children's movie. But it has much darker underlying tones. And let's explore them together. So the movie starts with that doll making scene. And if you have already seen the movie once, you realize that the doll maker is the Beldam, the antagonist in the movie. Which is like this spidery creature, but, you know, made of metal, really scary. And she crafts a doll, and if you've seen the movie already, you know that the doll, well, there comes a doll flowing from the window. It looks like a bit of an old doll, and if you've seen the movie already, you realize that this doll is the previous victim of the Beldam, the kid that went missing. We'll get into that later. The doll is pulled apart, the filling is removed, new filling is inserted, and the new filling seems to be sand or something, and it's remade in the shape that the Beldam wanted to be remade, which in this case is, of course, in Coraline's shape. So, and this is actually, why is this the first scene in the movie? Why is this scene important? Well, because it is already the movie in a nutshell. This is the movie. This is what's happening throughout the movie. This is what the Beldam does. It takes children and remakes them, remodels them in the image that she wants them to be. And this is actually what a lot of bad parents, or it doesn't necessarily have to be parents, a lot of bad people will do with children, including pedophiles. They will want to alter the children in some manner. You know, a lot of parents, and this is a little more benign, but it's still not good. A lot of parents, you know, they are unsatisfied with themselves. You can see this, for example, in Vyborn. You know, maybe they had a childhood just like Vyborn. They asked themselves, you know, why the fuck was I born? They have very little self-worth. Maybe they themselves have been the victims of domestic abuse in their childhood. So they have very low self-esteem, and they constantly think, why was I born? Why is my life like that? How could my life be different? You know, they're unsatisfied with their own life. They feel incapable of changing their own life. They feel weak and incompetent even as an adult. So what do? They, well, take it out on someone that is more easily modeled, you know. So when they have children, they want the children to be the way that they wanted to be but couldn't, you know. Maybe they wanted to achieve something, wanted to be a certain way, but their own parents didn't let them, and they couldn't achieve what they wanted to achieve. So they couldn't model themselves into what they wanted to be, so they model the child into what they want the child to be. This is not good. This is not good. This is not good parenting at all. This is bad parenting at its finest. But it's still much better than the kind of remodeling, for example, a pedophile would do, because of course a pedophile will also try to remodel the children, but in a whole other way. namely, what the pedophile wants from the child is not in the nature of the child. So the pedophile will force the child to be that way, to act like, for example, like an adult, or act the way the pedophile wants the child to act in that specific manner, in that specific aspect, which of course in this aspect, is a sexual aspect. So what it essentially is it's brainwashing. It's brainwashing the child into doing something that the child normally does not want to do. And this is exactly what the beldam does. And this is what is symbolized with the puppet. It's essentially brainwashing. And I talked about how brainwashing works before, but this movie explains it wonderfully. Yeah. So first off, the entire thing is a trap from the very start. Vibey is in on it, the cat is in on it, and definitely Vibey's grandmother is in on it. Vibey provides for the cat. Vibey tells Coraline that his grandmother doesn't normally rent to families with children. Now, why is that? Of course, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous for the children, and his grandmother seems to know that, and even Vibey seems to know that. You can see that, you know, by the way he's acting. It looks like he's hiding something when he says that. So, why do they suddenly rent to a family with children now? Well, maybe because it's intentional. Maybe they intend this as a kind of sacrifice to the beldam. And Coraline gets the doll from Vibey. And also, the key is left in the house. I mean, the key to the other world. Why would they leave the key in there? I mean, Vibey's grandmother obviously knows about all this. So, and she knows it's dangerous for children. Why leave the key in there? I mean, why leave the key in the house at all? But of course, Coraline's parents also do a lot to set it up. Although, of course, they do it unintentionally. You know, it's, you know, the classical story. You know, like Pinocchio and so many other stories, you know. Coraline, Coraline is very curious, is a kid, needs a lot of attention, and her parents don't have the time to give her that attention, the attention she needs. And because her dad doesn't have time for her, he suggests that she explore the house, which leads her to find the secret door. Now, she can't open the secret door, but her mother finds and gives her the key for it, under the condition that afterwards she no longer bothers her. So it's really, in a way, of course, it's really the parents' fault. And in this way, it's a lot like the Pied Piper. You know, the Pied Piper of Hamelin. And this is also, which also makes sense, you know, because you have a lot of rats in this movie, and the rats are like also like kind of like the agents of the beldam, and just like the Pied Piper, the beldam catches rats or controls rats, and she also catches and controls children. Or at least that is her goal. And just like in the Pied Piper, it all came about because of the parents. Because it's the parents' fault, basically. In a Pied Piper, at least in one version of the story, the parents are all busy, and you know, they're busy in church and neglect the children. And then the Pied Piper then comes along and exploits that, you know, that the parents are not taking good care of their children, and then lures away the children. So the beldam is a lot like the Pied Piper, and the beldam gives Coraline everything she wanted. Everything. The beldam masquerades as her mother, but she masquerades as a version of her mother that, well, basically Coraline wants. The beldam is the mother that Coraline always wanted but never had. She's exactly the way, well, she wants her mother to be, and not only her mother, but the entire world the beldam crafts for her is exactly the kind of world that Coraline wants. It's exactly what she wants, and she gets everything she ever dreamed about. But of course, it has a price. My mother did that a lot. You know, when she abused me the worst, that was also when I got the best gifts. Of course, if I, you know, for example, like when she sexually abused me, well, of course she would, you know, beat me up like real good if I refused to be touched. If I agreed with it, I would get, you know, a lot of gifts, you know, a lot of video games, which were expensive back then, and everything I wanted, basically, you know. So, but, you know, I got all those things, but those things had a price, you know, and that's, and basically I knew that, but that, you know, that's the way she bought me, and that's the same, you know, like in the movie. The beldam gives Coraline all those wonderful things, but those wonderful things have a price. And the price are the button eyes. Of course, this is symbolical. It, you know, because like the doll also had those button eyes. It basically represents her giving in to the will of the beldam. Basically becoming her doll. Basically doing what the beldam wants her to do, in exchange for all the gifts she gets. And we see in the movie that the beldam controls everything that has those button eyes. Now that, of course, would include her if she accepts those button eyes, which she doesn't. But I always felt like, okay, this was a bit too easy, you know. I mean, why would she even give her a choice? I mean, it's not like she even has a choice. It's not like a person like that would give the child a choice. Of course, the child has a choice, you know. Of course, the child can disagree, you know, can decide not to be bought with those gifts, can try to run away and so on. But it's not like, you know, it's not like the person, him or herself, will ask a child, oh yeah, well, do you want to? You know, you can say no, you know. It's not like they will emphasize that. Of course the child can say no, but actually the child can't, because the abuser will not, well, of course you always have that choice, but the abuser will try his best to make you think that you don't, to make you think that you don't have a choice, you know. So he will never ask you, you know, oh, do you want the buttons, you know. So why does she do that? You know, because she doesn't want to give her a choice. You know, there is no choice, you know, from the beldam's point of view. You know, it's not like she's gonna say, oh, you don't want the buttons, fine. You know, she doesn't have a choice. Well, she does have a choice, but that choice is running away, which is, of course, what the beldam and any child abuser will want to prevent, you know. So a real-life child abuser will try to make the child think that the child has no choice. That the child has no choice but to comply. And that there is nowhere to run away to. Or that there might be, but that whoever you might run away to is even more evil than the abuser. Well, at least the abuser will make you think that, because of course the abuser doesn't want you to run away. So he will try various ways to make you think that you have no choice, and to make you think that either you can't run away, or that even if you were to run away, your life would be even worse. So that is what a real-life child abuser would do, and this is exactly what the beldam does. And this is where the movie gets really dark, because a lot of people haven't noticed that. Well, a lot of people have noticed it, but you know, the casual viewer has not. So it's not like the beldam gives Coraline a choice. She has the beldam does not give Coraline a choice. The beldam, from the beginning to the end, tries to manipulate Coraline. Yeah, that's basically what she does. You know, she manipulates things. She's like a puppet master. And one very effective way to keep you from running away is to make you believe that you have already run away. The movie does this quite literally, whereas my mother also did that, actually. Of course, you know, my mother doesn't have control over time and space like the beldam has, but you don't need to. She used various ways to make me think. Well, she was very manipulative, and she was also a psychologist and a sociologist. Well, never mind. Well, anyway, she was very good with psychology, so she was very good at manipulating people. Not only me, she also was very good at manipulating other people, just like the beldam. And through those manipulations, she managed to make me believe that the outside world is what is dangerous. That I have to run away from the outside world, which in reality was trying to help me. But she made me believe the outside world is dangerous, and that staying with my mother and letting her touch me every night is the best life I could have. You know, and besides, I get all those wonderful gifts for it. And when my mother was really desperate, when she was really afraid that I might leave, or that the authorities might take me away, she gave in a little, you know. So when I really didn't want to stay with her anymore, she let me go to a boarding school. Now, at that time, I thought, well, that's a victory, right? It's a victory for me. I'm at a boarding school. I'm no longer with my mother. You know, she leaves me alone. She doesn't touch me anymore. Great. Yeah, but it was really, well, I thought it was a victory, but it was still within her control, because she only did that because at that time the only other option was to let the authorities take me away. And of course she didn't want that. So she gave in a little, let me go to the boarding school, but then, of course, that was only temporary. Afterwards, I would come back to her again, you know, and everything's fine, and and nobody ever noticed that she was sexually abusing me. So that was her goal all along, you know, make me think I've won when I really haven't. Also, at the end, when I was 15, I ran away from home. Again, I thought this was a victory, you know, because she didn't try to get me back, and she even helped me find an apartment. And in the beginning, she even partially paid for my apartment so that I could move out at 15 years old, because you can understand that I really didn't want to stay with her. So again, I thought this is a victory for me. Again, this was she was not having a choice at this point anymore, but she still tried to turn it around and manipulated me, because she knew that at this point she had to let me go. She had to let me move into my own apartment, because again, if she wouldn't have done that, again, I would have gone to the authorities, and the authorities would have noticed that she was sexually abusing me, and she would have gone to prison, which is what, you know, which is what should have happened, which would have been the right thing, because I think she should go to prison. Now I can't do it anymore, because they say, oh well, it's too late, you're already an adult now. So I really would have needed the help from the authorities at that point. But in order to prevent the authorities from helping me, again, she gave in a little and let me move into my own apartment. And I thought, again, this was a victory. I thought it was a victory, but it was within her control. She let me win. She let me win, so that I didn't realize that the real victory would have been to go to the authorities and get her locked up. That would have been the real victory, but of course she can't have that. So she lets me have a small victory. And this is exactly what Beldam does. And just like my mother did that multiple times, you know, like she did it with the boarding school, then she did it with the apartment. She did it every time she needed to. Every time she had no other option anymore. She again manipulated me into thinking I've won, when she was really still in control of the situation. And the Beldam does that too, and the Beldam also does that multiple times. The first time is after she went through the secret door for the first time, and it appears to be like in her sleep, you know, because she goes to bed. And then she goes through the door. She meets the Beldam for the first time, who masquerades as her mother. And then the Beldam, at the end, the Beldam tells her to go to bed. And she goes to bed in her bed in the other world. And she wakes up in the real world. Or does she? Because we don't know. Because in all other instances, she needs to go to the passage. She needs to go through the passage to leave the other world. But here she doesn't. She just goes to bed in the other world, wakes up in the real world. Well, you could argue that it was all a dream, except you can't, because you have the poison oak. She goes to bed, burned from the poison oak. Her mother in the other world, her other mother, the Beldam, gives her something to cure the poison oak, and when she wakes up, the poison oak burn is cured. So how can that happen? So it can't be a dream. But she didn't go through the she didn't go through the portal. So what's going on here? But well, then you argue, well she can't still be in the other world. She must be in the real world. Everyone has real eyes. Well, yeah, that's another trick, basically. That's the second trick I'm gonna get. I wanna get at, is that the whole eye thing. Why would she do that? You know, why would she ask her, well, do you want the eyes? You know you can say no. Would she give her a choice like that? Of course not. Does she have a choice? Of course not. Is she gonna let her go if she says, well, I don't want the eyes? Of course not. So why does she ask her? Well, that's what you should think about. It's because it's a trick. She doesn't actually need the eyes. The eyes are purely symbolical for her and in the movie. The eyes just symbolize her doing what the Beldam wants, you know. But it's symbolical. She doesn't actually need those eyes, you know. She can make real eyes. She doesn't need the button eyes. We see her at the end make real eyes. She can make real eyes. So why does she make button eyes? It's because it's a trick. It's to trick Coraline into thinking she has left the Beldam's world when she really hasn't. I think that from the moment she wakes up in the bed for the first time, well, she never leaves through that way anyway. So from the moment from the moment she first enters the other world, she is in the other world. She never leaves. And this is where the story gets really dark. She never, you think it has a happy ending, but it really doesn't. She never leaves. From the time she first enters the other world, she stays in the other world. And every time she thinks she leaves the other world, or every time she has a big or small victory over the Beldam, it's all the Beldam manipulating her into believing that. Because if Coraline believes she has won, if Coraline believes she has won, she won't try to fight the Beldam anymore, right? She thinks she has already defeated her. And if Coraline thinks she has left, she won't try to leave, right? And that's the whole point. It's to break down her resistance. Throughout the movie, there are little hints to the fact that she might be in the Beldam's realm the entire time after she went there for the first time, that she never leaves. And that is, for example, the peculiar behavior of her neighbors. They behave pretty peculiar even in the real world, but we never see that behavior after she went in for the first time. And also, they give her little hints, not to go through the secret passage. But that was after she already went in. So, also, the acrobat, forgot his name, Bobinski or something, right? Okay, Bobinski tells her that his mice have told her not to go through the secret passage. But as we later learn, the mice are controlled by her. The mice are basically like her agent, just like the doll, and well, some also say just like the cat. But there are hints that the cat also might be, the cat is a difficult story. There are various theories regarding the cat. Anyway, but with the cat and the mice, you also have this, cat and mice symbolism. The whole thing is a kind of cat and mouse game between Coraline and the Beldam. And it was like that with my mother. It was also cat and mouse, and every time I saw it, I caught, every time I saw it, I'm the cat. It turns out I was the mouse. And it's the same with Coraline, because the mice tell her not to go through the portal, but that was when she already went through the portal, and the mouse, as we find out, are under the Beldam's control. And also, at the beginning of the movie, it is autumn. But when she comes back from the Beldam, it is suddenly President's Day. And I have no idea when President's Day is, but I'm pretty sure it's not in autumn. So anyway, there is a certain time lapse, that can't really be explained. Because in the movie, the movie makes you think that only one or 2 days have passed, but it seems that much more time has passed. So what's going on here? Is she really in the real world or not? Because, if she is, then there are a lot of plot holes. But there are not plot holes. There are little hints to the fact that she's not in the real world. That after she goes through the portal for the first time, she stays in the world of the Beldam. Also, Coraline even says that when she asks the cat, how can you walk away from something and still come back to it? That's what she says. And I think that's also a hint to the fact that she never really walked away. Also, it's pretty obvious that just going to bed and sleeping is not the way to pass through the worlds. So why is she able to do that? Only because the Beldam wants her to. Or actually, I think maybe she doesn't even have that power, you know, to teleport someone directly into the other world, or to teleport something from the other world to the next world. I don't think she has that power. Would she have that power, she wouldn't need Coraline to go through the, you know, she wouldn't need to lure her at all to go through the passage. She could, you know, just magically teleport her into the other world. But she can't do that. So, this also shows that when she goes to bed, she's not really leaving the other world. The Beldam only makes it seem like she is, and she also only makes it seem like she's leaving the other world when she wants that. You know, it's totally, you know, the other world is totally under the control of the Beldam. And actually, it's the same with a real world child abuser. Well, like I already said, there is always a trade-off, you know. Even the most evil child abuser, pedophile, will not just abuse you, you know, just like that. You always get something nice in return, but it's a bad trade. And also, there is always a certain realm that individual is able to control. That individual wants you to be part of that realm that this person can control. Because in a sense, in a way, this person seeks to be able to control you. So you have to be part of that realm. Everything within that realm is controlled by that individual. If you are within that realm, that individual can also control you. That's his goal. So, for example, with my mother, it was basically the family, you know, and the house, you know, just like it's a house in this case, you know, because I was living with my mother, you know, she was able to control the home environment, the house we lived in, although we didn't always live in a house, but, you know, wherever we lived, she was able to control that environment. And she was also able to control the people within that environment, like me. And, you know, and whatever part of the family was living with her, she was able to control that environment, but she had no control over the outside environment. That's why she needed to demonize the outside environment to prevent me from leaving. Now, of course, if she just says, oh yeah, well, the outside environment is bad, don't go there, don't leave, I'm not necessarily going to listen to her, because I know that she's just saying that so that I stay with her and let her abuse me. So that doesn't really help. She has to think of ways to make the outside environment look bad without me directly telling it, you know, because if she just says it, you know, she knows that I won't believe her. She has to make it genuinely appear evil, which is very difficult because she has no control over the outside environment. She has no direct control, but she has indirect control. You know, she can manipulate certain people, or, you know, she can, you know, like within the family, if she can manipulate other people that live with her, these people can also leave, you know, can leave the house, go to the outside world, and make it look to me like the outside world is bad. But it's under her manipulation. It's not under her direct manipulation, but she can manipulate it like through her agents, just like in this movie, you know. And of course, in the real world, those agents would be people who, you know, who listen to her, who do what she wants them to do, you know. And they would manipulate the outside environment in such a way that it would appear bad to me. But it's only, you know, she doesn't really, she can't really control the outside environment, but she can manipulate me and other people so as to make it appear like the outside environment is bad, and like the best choice is to stay with my mother and let her abuse me. It's the same with the beldam. She has no direct control over the outside world, but she can she can indirectly control the outside world through her agents, through the people who do her bidding, and she can manipulate the parts of the environment that she can control. She can manipulate those parts to look like the outside environment. She can't directly manipulate the outside environment, but she can manipulate her environment to look like the outside environment. She can make it appear like she has been defeated. Yeah, which is very helpful, because then she won't try to defeat her again. I already said that. So this is actually, well, I believe this is what's actually happening in the movie, and you see it pretty clearly at the end of the movie. One of the last scenes is when we see the garden. You know, the beldam has supposedly been defeated, and she supposedly returned to the real world. But then we see the garden, and if you look closely, you can see that it's in the shape of the beldam. Before, in the world of the beldam, it was in the shape of Coraline, but now it's in the shape of the beldam, suggesting that she has not escaped the influence of the beldam. So it actually has a pretty grim undertone, and it has a pretty dark ending. And also at the end, it looks like a happy ending. You know, everybody does what she wants, everybody's nice to her. But isn't that just the same? You know, isn't that exactly what she wanted? She got exactly what she wanted. But that's the exact same as the illusion the beldam created for her. So suggesting that she is still in the illusion.